Built Ford proud.
Don't forget about the reigning champion Toronto Raptors. They welcome the Washington Wizards north of the border tonight. Well, we would like to welcome in Doug Smith, who covers the Raptors for the Star Tribune and has been doing it since Sam was a head coach in Toronto. How about that?
I've been doing this since Sam was a player. That's how long I've been doing it.
Well, let's talk about the popularity of this Raptors team. Currently voted, Pascal Siakam voted by fans as an all-star starter. The Raptors third in the league in merchandising sales. To you, is this the most popular the Raptors have been in general for the fan base around the league?
Yeah, there's a hangover from the championship for sure. And frankly, they were really popular when Vince was at the height of insanity in 2000, 2001. But this is constant now. Like, this is a... they sell every ticket they got. They got great TV ratings here in Canada. They had great Christmas Day TV ratings in the States for the Boston game. It's been a very good team for like 4 or 5 years, and I think people are appreciating it and starting to realize that they're not a fluke. It's a very good franchise. It's a staple in the playoffs every year.
And speaking of no fluke, Doug, we knew Kyle would come back and play well, and obviously when we know Siakam got the extension, he was worth it. But a guy like Van Fleet, he's proven us that he's legit. He could possibly be a starting point guard. Is he available tonight? We know he's been banged up. What's his latest of his status?
He's not going to play tonight, Dennis. He's going to play tomorrow night in Minnesota. He's been out 4 games. This will be his 5th tonight with a hamstring. And you're right. He's a legit starting point guard in the NBA. Great three-point shooter. And he just plays smart. He gets them organized, and that takes a lot of pressure off Kyle Lowry. And they may be small, but they're tough, and so they can defend. And Nick Nurse uses them together in crunch time and close games all the time, and it's been successful.
Doug, when you look at this Raptors team with the rash of injuries they've had this year and they're still keeping their head above water, playing good basketball, I'm starting to think, what is the new ceiling for this team? Because everybody's foregone conclusion is that the Milwaukee Bucks is going to win the East. But come playoff time, if this Raptors team is healthy, and I saw that lineup Nick had out there with Marc Gasol, Ibaka, OG, Pascal, and Kyle, will we see that in the playoffs against the Bucks? And do we now think the new ceiling is that the Raptors are going to defend their Eastern Conference Championship?
Well, Sam, they're going to start that same big lineup again tonight, so we're going to see it a lot more in the last half of the year because I think they want to experiment so that when it comes to playoffs and they got to change things up, they're used to what they got to change to. I'm not sure it's sustainable over 40 games, but in a 7-game series against a very big Philadelphia team, against the Milwaukee team that can run out Lopez and Giannis, you want that big lineup to be able to work together. And you're seeing it. I think one thing that people might underestimate with the Raptors, they know how to win. And I think in the postseason, they figure stuff out. And I think they're going to be a really tough out. I've always thought they had as good a chance as anybody to win the East again. And nothing in the first 41 games this year has changed my mind.
Well, certainly seeing how they started the season at 19-8 when they were completely healthy, it's hard to argue against what you just said. But then looking at Masai Ujiri and the deals that he's pulled off in the past, bringing in Kawhi Leonard, as the trade deadline approaches, do you see him possibly making a deal to try to compete for a championship, or do you think he's content with the squad that he has now to try to compete?
I don't think he and Bobby Webster really know what they got because they've been so hurt for so long with so many different guys out. They lost Ibaka and Lowry for 10 games. They lost Siakam, Gasol, and Powell for 11. They lost Fred now for 5. I don't think they know what they got, and I think that would lead him to stick with what he has. I don't think he's going to spend any money in the 21 summer year. So I don't think there's an ad. I think there might be a trade out there that makes him different. I don't think there's a trade out there that makes him any better. And I think because he wants to see what he has, I would be shocked if he makes any kind of significant move in early February.
And Doug, one last one for you. Is the kid Chris Boucher, am I saying his name right? Is he for real? Is it time for him to grow? Because he's had some moments where, to our conversation coming into this year, I didn't see this coming out of him.
I would love to say yes because he's a great story. Kid came out of nowhere, bounced around, blew a knee out last year at college. I would love to say he's a 20-minute-a-night NBA rotation guy, but I don't think so. I think he's a little bit too skinny. I think he's a little bit too, I don't know if absent-minded is the right word, but I don't think his attention to defensive detail is where you need it to be to win a championship. But he's an intriguing player. And if he's your fourth or fifth big man, you're okay. But I'm not sure he's a 20-minute-a-night guy.
Good stuff.
All right, Doug Smith, make sure that Sam doesn't bother you anymore next time you see him. I know you got his voice in your head from the last 20 years.
Hey, Doug,
Trust me.
this coming
I know
from
how that
somebody
works.
who has no friends, okay? And don't know how to form relationships that endure, okay? So just consider the source.
All right, Doug,
missed you
thanks
up
for
here,
stopping
pal.
by to
We
warm
missed
up. Don't let him get to you, Doug. Don't let him get
My
to you.
pleasure.
Oh, I'm sorry. He does have a friend now. You had a child, so she might like you until she starts talking, and then you better stop talking so much.
How about this, Sam? Let's get back to business and looking at the Raptors and the fact that over
You're
the
gonna
last
leave me alone. I keep telling you that. Now we can go.
I'm a bully to bully. No, over the last 9 games, they've alternated wins, haven't won consecutive games in almost a month. And when you look at Toronto, what they've been over the past 5 or 6 years as far as their consistency, do you view that as just, look, they're struggling with injuries and trying to figure out who they are, or is there something else we're not seeing?
Think about this, man. They are 2 games in the loss column back of being the number 2 seed. So with all that they've been through, look at all the players they've lost. Look at all the injuries they've had. Look how many times Nick Nurse has had to juggle that lineup. I remember early in the season when I was up there doing games, he was only playing 8 guys because he didn't want to play the bench. He didn't have any confidence in them. And then as the injuries started to amount, someone asked him about the bench again, and he said, guess what? I guess I'm going to have to learn how to start liking the bench. So when you look at the maturation of this team, and Doug said one thing, 3D, that sticks with me. They are tough. When you watch them, when you know these players, Kyle and Pascal and OG and Mark, sir, they are tough-minded players, and they don't give in. It will not surprise me, 1, if they finish 2, and once they get healthy with that big lineup, and then they're able to go big and small. Because think about this, Chris. When you put Serge Ibaka at the 5, and you go Pascal and OG and Kyle and Fred, some people would think you're small, but your front line is almost 6'10" across and long.
Yeah.
So they can come at you in multiple ways, and the fact that they're a veteran team that won a championship, man, they're going to be, no one's going to want to play them. And my prediction is, I don't know who they'll play. I would imagine Milwaukee, but we may see a matchup of Milwaukee-Toronto again.
3D, Sam said something very interesting there in the sense of we always focus on stars on teams and the best players, but he said guys that know how to win. I mean, this is still the reigning championship team, sans Kawhi Leonard, but how crucial is that for this group that they know that they can win together?
Remember when Detroit won their championship, everyone's like, there's no real superstar. They have 5 guys that
2004.
they played together, played the right way, they defended. To Sam's point, Nick Nurse's point, they are tough. They're going to play the defense. I think most people question who's going to be that closer for them, who's going to be that guy we say when things go bad, we can get the ball to him. Well, I think Siakam's kind of answered that question now, and I think the fans have answered that
But
question
think about
as well.
this, really. If they win it this year without a so-called superstar, it's going to upset the entire NBA because guess what? GM's a copycat league. They're going to be sitting back saying,
yes,
I
let's
just
build a
need
team.
5 good players. Let's
You gotta
build
build
a
a
team.
team.
Instead, in the past, it's
And
been,
you will
let me
find-
go get a superstar and build around it.
And that's why Masai and other GMs aren't always copycats. Yes, you need a superstar. Yes, you took the chance on Kawhi and you won. You got your ring, and now everyone says, wait a minute.
They got
maybe
superstar. They developed one.
They developed one.
your own.
There you go.
Yeah, I was going to say, Pascal
In-house.
Siakam currently voted as an all-star starter.
Developed
I'm
homegrown.
not done. That's why I asked Doug the question, too, because sometimes, once again, when you're up in Toronto, you're not one of those so-called, once again, sexy markets. You don't get a chance to look at Van Fleet very closely and see how good he is. So then I start asking players.
Freddie getting ready to get paid.
No disrespect to all of our great writers.
Freddie getting ready to get paid.
Listen to me. I said no disrespect to none of our writers at all. I want to talk to a player. Hey, Russell, how good is Van Fleet? Hey, Chris Paul, how good is Red? Because those are the guys that have to try to stop him every night. So when the players tell me Fred Van Fleet's good, check, he's good, and that's why Doug Smith just confirmed. Yes,
Freddie
indeed
getting
he
ready to
is.
get paid.
Yes, indeed.
You know who else might check that box if we decided to take a survey around the league? Domantas Sabonis. At least the
Check.
Timberwolves would
I
say
asked the
so.
players again. Another one. Check.
29 points on Wednesday night against them, but Karl Anthony
He's got
Towns
paid, though.
making his
He got the big
return
cat to deal with tonight
for Minnesota after
He's
missing the
got
last
the big
14
cat
games.
to deal with.
And if it wasn't for what Martin Luther King stood for, then obviously we wouldn't have the game we have today and the diversity that we have today.
I'm a firm believer in the connectivity of all humans, that we all have to look out for each other, be kind and be good to each other. And there's really no greater example of that than being on a team and having to cooperate and work together and strive towards a common goal.
When the person to the right of you sees that you have their best interest and you're sacrificing something to help them, and that might encourage them to do the same thing, and then, you know, it just continues to go on and on.
Well, MLK Day is also one of the busiest in the NBA. 14 games we have you covered on our networks. It starts at 2:30 with a matinee on NBA TV. Get to see Trae Young, the Atlanta Hawks, take on the Toronto Raptors. And then, of course, Ja Morant. We talked about him a little bit.
I'll be there, baby. Come on, yeah.
And then the Lakers, Celtics, one of the greatest rivalries in sports history. That's at 7:30. Blazers and Warriors at 10. You guys ready for a little story time with the big fella?
Let's do it.
Let's watch.
And I know you like, you know, stylish items. Is there a uniform?
Hey, man, you scared me. Don't be walking up behind me like that.
You talked about the old school guys you like to talk to them. When I put up this Wilt Chamberlain card,
I'm mad because I wanted to pass him up in points. When I hear a conversation about myself, I only want to hear one name.
The big Aristotle.
Superman.
The Diesel.
Big Cactus. Most dominant ever.
MDE.
Now, if I'd have passed him up, I would have arrogantly said Shaquille O'Neal's the most dominant player ever. Don't ever ask me the question again. Yeah, I got more rings than him, but he got more 50-point games, he got more rebounds, and he has more points.
Was there ever any interaction between you two while he was still living?
When I first came into the league, I did a Reebok commercial. I brought him, Bill Russell, Bill Walton, and Kareem. Here's the commercial right here. Check it out.
Password. Don't fake the funk on a nasty dunk.
It was me paying homage, showing respect. I saw him one time in LA, and this is no lie. We had a restaurant. I'm here. Wilt's right there. No hi, no you suck, no anything.
Didn't acknowledge you at all.
No. So unlike these guys that get upset when I go at them, I took it to myself and said, okay, he don't know who I am yet. The greats don't recognize me yet. I must not be great. And if you don't think I'm great, I got work to do. It's a pecking order thing. It's a respect thing. Now, after all that, when you go in the Staples Center and you see my name up there, it's well-deserved. Those guys paved the way for me. I will never disrespect them, even if they don't talk to me, even if they don't like me. I will never say anything disrespectful.
That's not enough. Oh, this must be a rookie thing or something.
Isaiah Thomas, Dominique Wilkins, Neek and Zeke, two players that are close to you. We'll start with Zeke.
Mentor in business. I would do silly things. I get a call from nowhere. Big fella, the league gonna be yours in a couple years. You gotta do this. You don't want your mama seeing that. And I respected that. It was just a beautiful thing, something nobody else ever did. When you're talking about pecking order and pecking order status, when Isaiah Thomas call you and tell you something, listen.
You have to care about one another. You have to love one another.
See, a lot of these guys' egos are too big because they think they're that good, but you're not really that good. See, they think it's hating. But I always question, how can we hate when we've done something you ain't done yet? It don't make sense. I'm giving you advice. I'm telling you what to do. So I've always loved Isaiah for that. Dominique taught me how to score. We was playing one day. He had 40. He had an easy 40, and I had 40, but it was a tough 40. So he came and he said, big fella, you try to get your points too early. You got to pace yourself. I was like, what do you mean pace yourself? He said, how many you want to average? I was like 28, 30, 7 points a quarter, big dog. And that's where I get that from.
7 points a
Because I used to
quarter,
try to come in and get 30 in the first quarter. And second quarter.
Be worn out.
Yeah, and then get it. Like, yeah, he said, nah, man, 7 points a quarter. So I 3 jump hooks, free throw. Oh, there go my boy D. Scott in the corner. See what he gonna do, right? While I'm resting. And then, you know, you let the other guys eat.
So before we get up out of here, a couple of hairstyles. I know we all part of the Ball Brotherhood, but if you had...
the BBH, I like that.
BBH, you like that?
I like that. I like that.
You got a choice between Michael Cage and the legendary Jerry Curl, Kelly Tripucka and the legendary Super Mullet, Artist Gilmore and the Super Fro.
Super Fro, probably not. Too big for that. I'm gonna probably go with this tight curl because I already got a beautiful face and I already got this. So you add that curl to it, boy, I'm gonna be a sexsymbol.com.
Just let yourself
Soul Glow.
Shaq out there looking like Sam.
Yourself.
Look just
Hey, man,
like
let me
it,
tell you
Sam.
something. Hey, man, can I throw things at this dude on the set, man?
Hey.
Oh, man. Look at this.
Look, you're so
natural,
going down,
natural.
man.
Stop hating, Chris, because you got the bald spots. You got the little color in your hair and stuff, man. Come on, don't hate. Don't hate because I'm at my age. I got all my hair. Technically.
Well, I remember you with the hot top fade. That's how I remember you. That's what I always know you as.
I know I'm frolically challenged right now. It's all good.
3D, don't worry about it.
Can we have a conversation about greatness?
It's just our brain works so hard. We lose a little hair, that's all.
That's it.
Well, look, one more thing I want to say about Shaq before we go. We had the conversation about guys under 21. Shaq's rookie season at 20 years old, 23 points a game, 9 rebounds a game, and 3.5 blocks.
And unguardable.
Didn't he have and he had a 20-20. I think his 10 was blocks instead of assists, of course. So yeah, I mean, obviously I enjoyed that time playing with him, but to hear him talk now, retired, is how much he still respects the game in his elders when he was young too. So it's just fun to listen to.
He says pecking order, man.
Yeah, it's
when
fun.
we
It's
come in
real.
this building, it depends on who's in this building. We all played and coached in the NBA, but there is a pecking order based on who you are. So when Chuck, Shaq, people like that walk in this building, we get in respect because of they earned it. When Gary Payton walks through the door,
Hall of Famer.
he's earned our respect as his peers because he's accomplished some things that we didn't accomplish. So we respect that because we know how hard it is and the sacrifice that you have to make to do it.
Yeah, Sam, so just know that on that pecking order, I'm not even on that chart. How about that?
Well,
Can we do that, my friend?
Well, how did this
coaching
become
year.
about him, man? Look, we're talking about all-stars and superstars. We ain't talking about no beginners. I mean, come on, player.
Hey, Sam.
I mean, the fact that you throw yourself in there with Gary Payton, Shaquille O'Neal, and Charles Barkley, I like the try.
Look, Sam, it's your hair. Your hair is next,
Let your soul go. Hey, Shaq, they just jealous, big fella, because we can do multiple hairstyles. We can do multiple hairstyles. Look, when do you see the ball start? Here goes the back of my head. You see it? You see it?
There he is, Alexander. I got now one of the most improved players
Next week,
in the
my hair
league.
gonna be like that.
There's no way, Sam. That ain't coming back.
There's wigs and weave, Chris.
You sound like